The air was thick with the kind of quiet that screams trouble. At 9:07 a.m., a black SUV with no plates crawled into the driveway of a modest North Carolina home, its tinted windows swallowing the morning light. Inside the house, Samuel Carter, a 70-year-old widower bound to a wheelchair since a catastrophic wreck, sat unaware, his fingers tracing the edges of a faded photograph of his late wife. Outside, two men in crisp, dark polos stepped out of the vehicle, their gold eagle insignias glinting with false authority. They moved with the arrogance of men who believed no one would dare question them. They were wrong. Through the lace curtains, I lit a Harper watch from the guest room, my pulse steady but my blood simmering. I'd driven 300 miles overnight from my quiet life in Richmond, Leah VYing behind a desk job and a locked safe of secrets I'd sworn never to re-VY-sit. My father didn't know about the years I'd spent in covert ops, the missions that left scars no one could see, or the training that turned my hands into weapons as precise as any blade. He thought I was just his daughter, the one who sent birthday cards and called on Sundays. But when his caregiver, Marie, phoned me about strangers harassing him, I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a hunt, and they'd picked the wrong prey. The trouble started 3 weeks earlier, subtle but deliberate, like the first drops of storm. An unsigned note appeared in Samuel's mailbox, lawn overgrown, non-compliant with Covenant A7. Then another, taped to the garage, trash bins left out. Immediate correction required. Samuel laughed it off, his voice raspy from years of smoking steel mill air. Probably some bored retiree with a ruler and a grudge, he'd said, tossing the notes into a drawer. Marie, though, wasn't so dismissive. She kept the yard pristine, the bins on schedule, the hedges trimmed sharper than a Marine's haircut. These weren't complaints. They were bait. 5 days ago, a yellow slip appeared on the front door. Final warning. Noncompliance with Covenant B14. Vacate within 7 days. No signature, no contact, just cold ink and a threat that felt like a blade pressed to the throat. Samuel's house, a weathered but proud relic he called the Haven, was no mansion, but it was his. Every creak in the floorboards, every chip in the porch paint held a memorial of my mother's laughter, of late-night card games, of a life forged through sweat and sacrifice. No one was taking that from him, not while I was breathing. Marie's call came the next day. 2 men showed up, Lydia, said they were neighborhood compliance officers. Wanted to inspect the house inside. I told them to get lost, but they didn't look like the type to back off. That's when I knew. This wasn't about grass or trash cans. This was a scam, coordinated and ruthless, preying on the vulnerable. Samuel was a disabled veteran, his mortgage paid off decades ago, his taxes meticulous. The voluntary HOA in Pinewood Estates had no power to EVYCT anyone, let alone a homeowner like him. These men were imposters, and they were escalating. I arrived at the Haven under cover of night, my duffel packed with gear I hadn't touched in years. A GoPro rig, a signal jammer, a tactical flashlight that doubled as a baton. I didn't tell Samuel the truth about my past. He didn't need to know about the desert ops, the interrogations, or the men I'd left broken in rooms with no windows. All he needed was to feel safe. But I saw the pattern clear as day. Isolate the target, invent violations, create a paper trail, then escalate with fake authority. If I hadn't come, they might have forced entry, claiming health violations or structural hazards. I wasn't going to let it get that far. I wired the house with cameras to exterior feeds, one hidden in a porch light, another in a fake smoke detector inside. I upgraded the locks to deadbolts that could stop a battering ram. Marie got a crash course in security protocol. No strangers, no exceptions. Then I waited, every nerve on edge, knowing they'd come back. Predators always do. The SUV's engine ticked as it cooled in the driveway. The men didn't knock. They strode up the porch steps like they owned the place, one clutching a clipboard, the other with a hand resting near a cheap plastic badge clipped to his belt. Through the camera feed, I watched Samuel wheel to the door, his face etched with confusion but not fear. Never fear. That was his way, even after the accident that took his legs and half his dreams. "Can I help you?" he asked, voice steady. The clipboard man spoke first, his tone clipped and rehearsed. "Sir, we're with the Homeowners Oversight Authority. You've been cited for multiple violations. Failure to comply with prior notices. This property is now subject to immediate EVY tie-in proceedings under Covenant B 14. Samuel's brow furrowed. "EVY tie-in? This is my home. Paid for. No that's non-compliance." The second man cut in, stepping closer, his shadow falling over Samuel's chair. "Hazardous conditions. Ramp's not up to code. Noise complaints. Inappropriate exterior decor." He gestured vaguely at the faded American flag hanging from the porch railing, the one Samuel had flown since his army days. I felt my jaw tighten. Inappropriate decor? They were reaching, and they weren't even good at it. Inside, Marie stood by the kitchen, her phone already dialing 911 at my signal. I slipped on my jacket, tucked the GoPro into a hidden pocket, and checked the weight of the concealed SIG sour my hip not to use, but to know it was there. I moved through the back door, silent as a ghost, and rounded the house. The air was still, the birds gone quiet. Clipboard man was peering through the window, sizing up the interior, while his partner loomed over Samuel, one hand inching toward the wheelchair's armrest. That was their mistake. "Gentlemen," I said, my voice cutting through the silence like a blade. They turned, startled but recovering fast, their eyes scanning me 5-6 inch, dark hair pulled back, no VY Cybele threat. They didn't know what I was capable of. "Not yet. This is an official matter," Clipboard man said, his smirk dripping with condescension. "We suggest you stay out of it." I stepped closer, my boots soft on the grass. "Oh, I'm sure you suggest a lot of things. Like trespassing, or impersonating officials." I pulled a folded printout from my pocket Pinewood Estates HOA registry, downloaded at 3 a.m. I checked. There's no Homeowners Oversight Authority. Your uniforms? They violate federal law. Title 18, Section 912. Look it up. They froze, the smirk vanishing from Clipboard man's face. The other one, taller, with a fake badge and a bulge under his polo that screamed knockoff holster, narrowed his eyes. "You're making a mistake, lady." "No," I said, my voice ice. "You are." I pointed at Samuel, still calm in his chair. "If you take one more step toward him, you'll regret it." The tall one's gaze flicked to my jacket, missing the tiny GoPro lens nestled in the zipper. He thought he had the upper hand. He was wrong. Without warning, he lunged, his hand shooting toward Samuel's wheelchair, maybe to tip it, maybe to drag him out. My body reacted before my mind, muscle memory from 1,000 drills kicking in. I pivoted, hooked his wrist, and drove my palm into his elbow joint. A sickening pop. He screamed, collapsing to his knees, and I had him face down, zip-tied, in under 6 seconds. Clipboard man stumbled back, his face pale. "We're authorized. I have papers." "Forged papers," I said, advancing. "Raise your hands." "Now." He hesitated, then complied, his fingers trembling. I closed the distance, my voice low and lethal. "Name." "Look, I'm just doing my job." "Name." I gripped his forearm, applying pressure to the radial nerve until he sank to his knees, gasping. "Paul. Paul Grayson." "Real name." Silence. I tightened my hold, just enough to make him rethink his choices. "Fine. De VYD hole. Good start, de VYD." I zip-tied him to the porch railing, his sweat soaking through his polo. Samuel watched, his hands gripping his chair, eyes wide but trusting. "You okay, Dad?" He nodded, voice soft. "Who are you, Lydia?" I gave him a half-smile. "Your daughter." "That's enough for now." Marie emerged, still on with 911. "They're down. No weapons used. Just her hands." Across the street, neighbors peered out, phones in hand, recording. Good. Witnesses mattered. I activated the GoPro's live stream, backing it up to a secure server I'd used in my SareVYC days. This wasn't just a scam anymore. It was a conspiracy, and I wasn't letting it vanish into the ether. Sirens wailed in the distance, closing fast. 3 sheriff's units screeched into the cul-de-sac, kicking up dust. The lead officer, a grizzled man in his late 50s with a name tag reading Sullivan, stepped out, hand on his holster. He took one look at the seen two men restrained. Me standing calm with my hands raised an eyebrow. "You did this?" "Yes, sir," I said, unarmed. "Check the footage." He glanced at Samuel, then back at me. "Name?" "Lydia Harper. Former Army. Their SUV has no plates. They claim to be HOA enforcement. They're not." Sullivan's eyes narrowed, but he waved over his deputies. I handed him my ID and the HOA registry. "Run their vehicle. You want to see what's inside." As the deputies swarmed the SUV, I crouched beside the VYD Holt, my voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't just you two, is it? Someone's pulling the strings. You're not smart enough to run this alone." His eyes darted to his partner, still groaning on the porch, then to a black sedan idling at the cul-de-sac's edge. I followed his gaze. The sedan's engine revved, and it peeled out, but not before a deputy snapped its plate. Holt's composure cracked. "It was supposed to be easy," he muttered. "Old people don't fight back. We've hit 5 neighborhoods. Nobody checks." "Who's we?" I pressed. He clammed up, but his fear betrayed him. This was bigger than a couple of fake cops. The SUV's search confirmed it. Forged documents, burner phones, a ledger listing addresses mostly elderly homeowners, all targeted with the same fake notices. The sheriff arrived minutes later, a wiry man named Kessler who'd seen his share of scams, but nothing like this. "You took them down alone?" Kessler asked, watching the GoPro footage. "Training," I said simply. He didn't push. Their SUV's registered to a shell company. These two have prior sextortion, fraud, impersonation. There's a warrant out for the tall one in South Carolina. I nodded, unsurprised. "Check a name, Victor Ramsey. He's tied to the notes left here." Kessler's brow furrowed. "Ramsey? He's on the HOA board." "Not for long," I said. The fallout was swift and brutal. The GoPro footage leaked online, shared by a neighbor who'd recorded the arrests. By evening, it was on local news. Veteran's daughter stops fake HOA cops in daring confrontation. By morning, it was national. Victor Ramsey, a slick real estate developer posing as the HOA's compliance chair, was arrested in a sting operation. His scheme was simple but VY-sious. Target elderly homeowners, fabricate VY-olations, and pressure them to sell at a loss or face EVY time. The properties were then flipped for profit through his shell company. He'd banked millions, exploiting dozens of VY Tims across the state. But Ramsey wasn't the mastermind, just a cog. The sedan's plate traced back to a private security firm with ties to a larger network, one the FBI was already sniffing around. I didn't care about the big fish not yet. My focus was Samuel, who sat quietly through the chaos, his eyes searching mine for answers I wasn't ready to give. 3 nights later, we sat on the porch, the air heavy with pine and the hum of cicadas. The neighbors had rallied, painting fences and trimming lawns for free, a quiet rebellion against the fear Ramsey's scam had sown. Samuel held my hand, his grip frail but warm. "I thought you were just my girl," he said, his voice thick. "But you're a damn warrior." I smiled, my throat tight. "I'm both, Dad." He chuckled, then grew serious. "You've got secrets, Lydia. I see it in your eyes." I looked away, the weight of my past pressing down. "Maybe one day I'll tell you." He squeezed my hand. "Whenever you're ready." Across the street, a new family moved into a house Ramsey had tried to steal. The neighborhood was healing, but I knew I couldn't stay. Not yet. There were others out there, predators like Ramsey, and I had the skills to stop them. But for now, I sat with my father, the porch swing creaking, the stars bright above the haven. Justice didn't need a badge. It needed someone willing to stand in the dark and swing first. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.